Hey, it's Ashley. Welcome to the Abundant Soul Podcast. This week, Steph and I have a very special guest, Amy Colombo, with us. Amy is a confidence life coach, registered nurse, EFT practitioner, and a single mother to 3 boys. She utilized the pause of the pandemic to deep dive into her own healing of childhood trauma, depression, and rage. This changed her life and led her to her purpose and calling. She has since resigned from her 23-year career in nursing and now coaches women, people pleasers, perfectionists, and high achievers to break free of their self-sabotaging patterns and live a life of confidence and courage. Amy's gift in guiding her clients deeply to their own power creates a profound transformation like no other. We are so excited to share this with you all. So let's get to it.
Hi everyone. Hi ladies. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Today we have the pleasure to have with us Amy Colombo. Amy is a friend that I met during the Inner Child workshop back in 2021. So it's quite a long time now. And turns out that we live in the same area. So the workshop was virtual and we ended up meeting in person in New York City and we stay in touch. So welcome, Amy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Stephanie.
So I know that you have such a powerful story to share and that you've done a lot of work in your personal growth and you come a long way. Could you share what was life for you before you started your transformation journey and what was it? What was your transformation journey?
Yeah, well, just start off by saying hello to your audience. I'm Amy Colombo. I'm 47 years old. I'm a single mother of 3 boys. I live in New Jersey, and my passion is personal development. I am now presently a full-on entrepreneur. I left a 23-year, traditional medical model hospital nursing career back in 2022. And now I am a confidence coach, and I really specialize in helping nurse coaches create authentic confidence in themselves. My journey, as I saw it when I was connecting what my purpose is in my purpose-driven business, was to help women know that they're the heroes in their own story. Because that was what I discovered, Steph. And you and I met in 2021 when I had really just started I had always been a lover of personal development, going all the way back to my 20s. In the very early 2000s, late 90s, like reading Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus by Dr. John Gray. Like, I remember reading that and I was like a kid in college and I loved it. Like, I couldn't get enough of it. And then watching The Secret by Rhonda Byrne in like 2008, that was another thing that blew my mind. But I really got more heavy in it in 2019. I had a rock bottom moment back in 2019. I had this kind of rage, anger within me that I had carried my whole life that just started bubbling over to the surface and started getting out of control. And it was really having a very negative impact in my life. And I had this major rock bottom moment where I had, actually hurt my mother and she had moved out. But then the rock bottom moment of all rock bottom moments for me was when I hurt my then 3-year-old. He was 3 at the time. He's now 9. But my rage was projected onto my children. And that was the moment where I just kind of had this no more, I can't do this anymore moment. And as I know now, my system was ready. I was ready to heal because what emerged was I had this whole thing of childhood trauma in the shadows. And I had never known that I was abused as a child. It was kind of hidden. And I discovered that. and I embarked on a healing journey. And that started in 2019. And now as I know, healing, transforming, refining ourselves, it's a lifelong process. So I'm still on that journey, actually, and healing deeper layers of myself. But that's really where it started. And it was, for anyone that might be listening or is just might be in a similar boat, it really is a very emotionally painful journey. It's a worthy journey. I highly, highly recommend it. But you are going to have those moments where you're going to actually think like you did something terribly wrong, because you're feeling so much is like coming up and out of you, and really needing tools to process those emotions and that heavy grief and that heavy burden that actually is stored in your body, right? That was really the key. So when I went on this journey, I was actually held in a therapy container, and it was, traditional CBT. And I love my therapist. I love her, but I needed something more, like I would leave her, we would drum up these memories and literally re-traumatize me. As I know now, I would be in my amygdala, I would be in fight or flight. I would literally be that little kid in that memory. And then she'd be like, time's up, And I remember saying to her, like, what do I do now? I literally said that to her. Like, what do I do now? Like, how do I go into my day like this? So I actually had to find the tools. And one of the tools that I still use this day, that I now am certified in, I'm now a certified emotional freedom technique practitioner. I found tapping back then. And that was huge for me, because as I know now, tapping is something that gets in the body. It's a energy psychology practice that actually can calm that amygdala down. And when you're that triggered, you need help. You need something to get in there and calm that fight or flight response down. So that's just kind of like where it started. And when you and I met in 2021, I had, at that point, we met in an inner child healing workshop with Christine Hassler, who to this day is like our favorite coach. She's our favorite, right? Mm-hmm. I still love her. But I was like on this healing journey in this therapy container, and doing EFT and doing journaling and really like releasing. Like I remember I journaled a lot. Like I had like 100, I think I had over 100 pages just like journaling out memories. But I was ready for something different. And I had heard about like inner child healing, and I was so curious about it. And I went into that weekend workshop and got a whole nother level or layer of healing. And it was interesting because I thought I had healed my childhood trauma, but then I went in there and I healed some more. And then I continue to dip back into it. That child still needs me sometimes and gets kind of stuck in her past at different points in my journey. So that's just a little bit of what happened. And I want to say what I learned is why I was projecting my rage onto my children, is because we don't know it, but when we become parents, and I know you know this, like our children trigger the heck out of our woundedness, like all of your insecurities, all of your self-doubt, all of those parts of yourself that you learned how to hide and stifle and not show because they weren't accepted by your parents or by the world. It's like that child in front of you just kind of like is this mirror and is like showing you everything about yourself that you don't like, that you tried to hide. And it triggers the hell out of you. Like you become, here I am 47, right? And I'm becoming the 5-year-old who feels powerless again. That was something I learned, that when my children wouldn't listen to me incessantly or they wouldn't do what I say, they would trigger a feeling of, learning what the feelings are that trigger you, the feelings of powerlessness. Powerlessness is something that would trigger my rage, right? To try to protect me. But yeah, it was a really amazing journey. And it was a journey of healing my painful past that little by little started opening me up to just being happier and more grounded in the present. I mean, I just want to share there's a little bit of miracle to healing. Undoubtedly, yes, I feel like there is. I feel like a healing journey is simultaneous with a spiritual journey. And things happened to me that were almost miraculous. I had this awareness one day where I was in the kitchen that this veil of depression that had always been with me. I was in the kitchen. I remember where I was. It was like right in front of my radio. And I just had this epiphany, like, oh, wow, like this veil of depression I've always had was my childhood trauma hidden in the shadows of my psyche. And now that it's exposed, it was just that day in the kitchen, I just literally felt the veil lift. Because the other miracle that was happening was my vision improved. So this is so interesting. Like, my vision improved. All of a sudden I would be walking outside and I could see in my periphery where I hadn't been able to see in my periphery before. I would always be very like kind of walk this and down and be very like tunnel vision, almost like afraid of the stimulus or afraid of seeing what was around me. And all of a sudden I was walking taller and I was seeing around me. And then I had that instance in the kitchen where my veil of depression just left my body because it was in a state of awareness. So these physical things were happening in my body that felt like miracles to me. I, wear glasses to this day. I wear glasses for distance, but I actually stopped needing them at around that time. So it's been a while. I wear them maybe at night when I drive, and that's about it. But I just stopped using them. And I realized, oh, wow, I haven't needed my glasses in a while. So these like miraculous things were happening for me processing my childhood trauma. The other thing that happened was my body started rejecting alcohol. And that can happen to women in, perimenopausal, menopausal age, but alcohol was always my numbing of choice. It was the thing that would numb me. And binge drinking was something I did from teenagerhood into my 40s. So when my body started rejecting alcohol to the point where I didn't want to drink anymore, I saw that as a miracle as well. But I was just like, wow, like what is happening to me? Like I discover I have childhood trauma through this terrible thing that happened, and just my whole life really transformed in a matter of a couple of years. And it felt miraculous to me. So I'll just kind of,
I really want to ask you one question.
Go ahead.
So I'm a mom as well, and I'm pretty sure a lot of our listeners are parents. And how did your work impact the relationship with your children? And could you share maybe a situation where you would have blown in anger before, where now you are able like to work it out, being more grounded or in a different way?
Yeah. Oh God, there's so many. What really stands out to me was there's one child, I have 3 boys, and there's one child that gets treated a little differently than the others. And what I learned was he's the most like me. He triggers me the most. And you would think as a parent that the child that reminds you the most of yourself, you'll have the most love and compassion for. And it's totally like the opposite. It's like he would trigger me to the point where I just felt I felt it so viscerally, and really felt like he was the problem. And through going back and really following those emotions to my past, I realized I was projecting my younger self onto him. I was projecting, my sibling relationship onto him. And I had like a major sense of awareness where I was so triggered one day with him, and I went and I I coached myself and I did the work. And I swear, Steph, like I came back, the whole situation looked different. Like it didn't even look like a problem to me. He just looked to me like a normal kid. So when I realized I'm not the adult parenting this child, I'm like the child fighting with the child. And when I was able to clear that, I was able to be his mother. And it's really changed everything with my relationship with him, because I've had a lot of repair conversations now. And I've been able to, because he's an older child now, they're my twins are 20. But back when they were about 15, 16, I had a real conversation with him where I sat down and I let him tell me what his experience is to be my child in this home. And like, he told me how unsafe he feels. And Steph, I was heartbroken, because that was my story. Like, I felt chronically unsafe as a child in my home. And even though he doesn't have the same experience as me, I know what that feels like, to feel unsafe in a home. So I started changing things. I listened to him. I didn't justify what I had done. I just shared that I hear him and I believe him, and I'm going to make changes to help him to feel safe in his own home. And he does. To this day, I still have like little check-ins with them, and honestly say, like, I actually ask my kids, like, I just want to know, how are you feeling in the house? Like, how am I doing as your mom? Am I meeting your needs? Like those conversations that we think we only have in the workplace, they go such a long way in the home with your family. They're not the norm. They're not what people are doing, but they really make a difference. I think my kids now feel very, very seen and heard. And even my younger one, what I'm noticing is he already knows. He knows the repair is coming. So I won't say that I never get triggered anymore, because I do. I definitely am way better. It's less intense. I can catch myself quicker now, and I can go take care of myself and clear it. But it's not perfect, and it never will be. But the repair process is something my son has really learned to, that's the one thing that we're consistent with in this house now. And he like knows it's coming. And we just have this beautiful, like, huggy kissy repair and apology. Sometimes he'll come and apologize to me, or I'll apologize to him. So it really made a big difference in the house.
Lead by example. I love that.
Yeah. It's nice to have these conversations and talk about like the progress, because we don't think about it all the time, but it really is like night and day. And, I think if you want to get good at something with your kids or your spouse or anyone that's in your life for the long term, it's like, get good at repair, because you're going to need it. Like, you're not going to be perfect.
What you said about the comparison with how at work we always do these check-ins, but how important that is to have in the home. Like, am I meeting your needs? Like, when you said that, like, I feel like I got chills, like thinking if my parents would have said that to me, and what it feels like to be a child, to feel seen and heard like that, because I feel oftentimes as a child, you might feel like you don't have say in the house. It's just, you're not an adult, so what a gift to be able to just bring the family together and have those check-ins. So can you share a little bit about that? Like, how has it been, like, getting that feedback? Have there been times where it's hard to hear that feedback, or the feedback that they give you? Or it's like, this is something new. How do I handle this? Or what can we do together?
Yeah. It can be hard, especially more in the beginning, when that repair was, again, like a chronic feeling of unsafety in the home. So that piece was the hardest piece, but now it feels like maintenance. It feels like maintenance. And I want to say I have been able to handle their stuff so differently. You know, my kids have been at this point, I think of the older ones, I think of the 20-year-olds, like they've been in their first, second, and even one, a third, like car accident for like just careless driving. Like they're okay, but it's just like they're careless driving, right? And they've also like come home drunk for the first time. And we've had just sticky situations, and I've been able to really see them as like these are normal things that a child goes through, that a teenager goes through. So just the fact that I'm seeing it from that way and not like full on going into panic mode and like doing what was done to us, right? Like sitting them down and lecturing them for an hour and having to almost like beat the words into their brain into submission. A lot of times I notice like they have their own natural consequences and emotions that they're dealing with from these types of instances, and they can learn from that. They don't need me to come in and make it worse. So I've been more of like mom the coach for them. Also, like they've made major decisions, like changes. Like one decided he didn't want to go to college anymore and he wanted to try modeling and like, you know, these big life decisions. So I've just stepped in, and instead of telling them what to do, I would just ask them lots of questions and get them more clear on what their next steps are, and then help them figure it out. You know, it's interesting because the love is deepened with my kids, but there's this awareness that they are like these separate beings from me. They're not this like, I'm not molding them to be something that they're not. So that's made a big difference with them. And then with the younger one, he is just such a highly sensitive, emotional, deeply feeling child. And it's really been helpful for me to not think of him as this problem and not think that there's something wrong with him, because you know sometimes it's really hard to deal with a kid that has big emotions, but I'm so much better at it than I was, and helping him, and you know, because kids behaviorally act out their emotions. So really just letting him have his emotions, not making him wrong, not trying to bright side him out of it, not trying to like make him happy. I've really learned that it's not my job to make my kids happy. It's my job to really mold them into like resilient, strong, capable humans that can handle the whole array of human emotions. So it's really changed things in that way where I don't feel as much pressure. And I think that they also sense that from me. So they're actually gaining the tools, and I'm helping them. You know, I do EFT tapping with my younger child. I've done tapping with my older kids. You know, every once in a while they'll let me in and let me help them. The other thing is though, we're not meant to like be everything to our kids. So like, I think sometimes they do need external like mentors and people to come in and help them for sure. So if my kids need that, like I'm willing to get that for them and not take it as like I'm this big failure because they're not coming to me. I think what I've realized is we tend to be pretty egocentric as parents. So, right. So really we make it more about us. We make our kids all about us. And we don't realize how much we make it about us. So I'd say that there's like a loving, healthier detachment there with my kids that has actually forged like a deeper connection between all of us, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. And
Yeah.
what you just mentioned is so powerful, and I hope it resonates with many, many parents, because it does resonate with me. And I know how hard it is like to practice non-attachment. And yeah, we often we want to have, it's our mini me. Like we want to make them do something, and we want to make them do homework, and we want them to go somewhere, like to go in college or to be a doctor, but it's not our life. And I love what you share. You are their support. And even if you are not there in their life every day, because you may not be the central person, they will come back to you. They will always gravitate because you offer this support, this loving energy where they know if they have any problems or concerns, they will come back to you. I love
Yeah.
that. I got
Yeah.
chills.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I just want to say I've really helped with my ex. So my ex is my youngest dad, and my youngest was coming to me with the issues he was having with his dad. And his dad was very much like wanting his son to come to him. So I was able to share with him, like, we're a team, we're both for Jackson, and like as long as he could come to one of us, that's why a child gets a father and a mother. Like, the mother can't be everything and the father can't be everything. So he was coming to me, and I really helped even in their relationship, talking to them. And my ex has been really grateful to me for that. So I've been able to help because my son feels so comfortable coming to me and sharing his truth, which is everything. We definitely want that for our kids. And I do want to say I think my journey, because I think sometimes we can go like, I feel like the scales will get tipped. I think when I was learning how to do this, then I was getting caught up in, but wait a minute, how do I actually reinforce boundaries now? Because I think I was, and so now I've learned the balance. I've learned that Jackson gets to have his feelings. He gets to say he hates his homework. He gets to feel that. But he has to do his homework, right? So like, I make the decisions. So eventually the homework's going to get done. The other day he was protesting he didn't want to take a shower. So again, you get to feel all those feelings. I'm okay with that. You don't have to like the shower. You do have to take a shower, right? So sometimes we compromise on like a bath. Like, there's some kind of compromise in there. But I think it's like this, they get to have their feelings, they get to have their say, and they're still kids. I'm still responsible for making the big decisions in their life until I'm not. And I think that's the part where we as parents, when we're becoming more like emotionally attuned to our kids, I know for me, like, that was the part that I struggled with the most. And then like, once I got that and like gave myself, I'm like, no, I'm still the authority. I still make the decisions, right? Like, just because he doesn't want to do his homework doesn't mean that he gets to not do his homework. Now, the other day, like, he didn't want to go to a friend's birthday party, like an acquaintance's birthday party. So I let him make that decision. That was a decision I allowed him to make. But certain decisions, he doesn't get to make. And I tell him that, like, you don't get to make these decisions. You get to have your feelings.
I love this. While you were working all of that in your personal life, you also made a big decision in your professional life. Do you want to share what it was?
Yeah. I once I was healing my painful past and moving through that, that's when I started getting more into the personal development and asking myself deeper questions, and started looking at like creating the future that I want. So there's like healing the past, but then there's creating your future and making really strong decisions and deciding what you want and going after it. So that piece opened up to me, and I just asked myself a question. At the time I was 42, and I literally asked myself, like, we've lived half our life. What do we want to do with the other half? And I really had felt like I had lived this life in the shadows of my childhood trauma. I wanted my second half to be my best. And then it was like, what does that look like? And I love work. I really do. Work is a thing that I love. So what do I love to do so much that I would want to do it for free? And it started with what I was doing, the personal development, the tapping, and just little by little, step by step, I just started I went back to school, learned how to be a coach, became a board certified nurse coach. I was able to combine my nursing license with coaching, which I thought was so cool, and just created my own business, like just one step at a time. And I started my business right at the beginning of, the end of 2021, and then managed to let go of nursing entirely at the end of 2022 when I realized that I could make it work. And I'm still in it. I'm still in it. It's been 3 years, and it's been quite the journey. I mean, I really have grown and evolved so much as a human, but also just what I've learned as an entrepreneur is just really astounding at this point. So yeah, I have my own business, my own coaching practice, and now I get to actually do what I love. I get to actually do something that I love for work. So I feel really, really blessed that I made that decision and decided I was worthy to go after it.
I love that. Decided I was worthy to go after it.
Yeah.
It's a good line. So, can you share those that you coach? What are some of the challenges, roadblocks, stopping points people find themselves in where they're like, okay, I need some support, I need some help, I need some tools? What do you see?
Yeah, definitely. I would say maybe like the top 3 issues that my clients bring in, because my program is confidence. I work with people one-on-one as well, but it's really, they lack belief in themselves. Like they lack belief, like the question of, can I really do this? Because I'm coaching a lot of nurse coaches. So they're like new, they just got out of coaching school and they want to start their businesses, and they just lack the belief in themselves altogether. The other thing that they're really struggling with is the fear of what other people are going to say and think when they're faced with the challenge to start getting visible and audible, which, right, in a business, a lot of them are looking to social media to start their businesses, and they're just deathly afraid of getting a negative comment or someone disagreeing with them. The other thing that they're really dealing with is, it is like being an entrepreneur, people dream of like the freedom, right? There's so much freedom in it. There's time freedom. There's money freedom. I could be who I want to be. I could say what I want to say. You don't realize that when you have that freedom, you don't even know what to do with it. It becomes a problem, right? Because especially nurses and women in other jobs too, but especially healthcare, there is literally a 10-step protocol for everything, for how you literally walk onto the floor and start your day, how you like greet a patient, take care of a patient. You are given like a step-by-step thing for everything. You have to follow it. And there's a chain of command. So when you become an entrepreneur, you're making all your own decisions. So like decision making, decision fatigue, getting really caught up in like all the decisions you have to make and executing on those decisions, that definitely is a challenge. And what it's challenging is, right, when you're creating a new story, it's challenging all the parts of you that have kept you safe and alive up until then. The parts of you that want you to stay small, want you to stay out of the limelight, don't want you to ruffle any feathers, don't want you to not please anyone or make people upset with you. And you have to become, as an entrepreneur, really resilient to shame. I'd say shame resilience, rejection resilience, and the fear of failure. And then even success. Because, right, there's like a fear of success too, that it's going to take so much from you and it might take away from other things. And those are real fears and real things that you have to look at, because the truth is, starting a business is a big investment of time and energy and money. And that's just the real deal of it. But you can adjust and you can do your energy audits and you can stop giving and leaking all your energy and your time and your resources and start putting it into this other bucket. So it's really all of that these nurse coaches that are the big bulk of who I coach are really dealing with and creating some confidence around.
I'm curious to know about you and if you feel this fear as well. Like you clearly had the courage to make the jump, which is a big jump. So did you have this fear before? Do you still have this fear now? Even as you are like, coach for 3 years, and because we see it as, okay, maybe the beginning is the hardest things that we start, and once we have the business, then it's all like sunshine and rainbows and we can do whatever we want. Is this true?
No, it's not true. It's not sunshine and rainbows. And everything that my clients are struggling with, everything that they bring into the container that we work through, I'm going through as well. It's interesting as a coach. I almost feel like God, the universe, is giving me the opportunity to work through my own stuff through working through it with my clients. I can't tell you how many times I'm just like smiling to myself because my client will literally bring in like today what I was working on for myself yesterday or what I'm struggling with. So these are universal things and they don't go away. And what you learn is that you continue to grow. I think as humans, we have this sort of unending desire to grow. So we grow and we expand and we can feel confident in a place where we didn't feel confident before, right? And then you're ready for like some next level, some next challenge. You're never complete and you're never finished. I can't tell you how many of these, like I go live every week in my Facebook group and nervous every time, like very, very nervous, like taking deep breaths. People tell me all the time that like I look nervous when I'm going live. Like they enjoy watching me. But something that they've said is that I like that you're taking deep breaths and you're sharing how nervous you are, because I'm very open in sharing what I'm feeling. If I think that's just kind of part of who I am. I like saying the thing that no one else is saying. So I've been like very open right now. If on social media, I am pretty much real as to what I'm experiencing. Like I'm in the middle of a launch and I'm getting on calls and I'm filling a group, and my social media posts are all about how I'm literally in the darkness right now and I'm working through something. And, people are getting on calls with me and they're like, thanks for sharing that. Like, it's really nice to see that you're experiencing that. And I like sharing that. And I like for them to see that. I don't think anyone that we look up to has it easy. I think what they've mastered and what I feel like I've gotten really good at is moving through and with my uncomfortable emotions. Like I can move with the dread. I could move with the doubt. I could show up when I don't feel like it. I can, it's a little harder. It's a little heavier. I call it the 50-pound backpack, right? And we all know what this is like. It's like even just showing up in a job every day. Sometimes you're happy to be there and sometimes you're just not, and everything feels harder. And it's the same way in entrepreneurship. It's the same way living your dream, right? Then if you're not living your dream, you're still experiencing those very human emotions. A coach that I love, Brooke Castillo, she came up with this theory of the 50-50 of life. She just says anyone, it doesn't matter who you are, you're at any given moment experiencing positive emotions or negative emotions at any given moment, the 50-50 of life. So whether you accomplish those goals and you're soaring and you're a millionaire, or whether you're not, you're experiencing like the 50-50 of life. So I just think of that a lot. And as someone who's very highly sensitive and emotional and empathic, which I am, I feel like I'm in the more uncomfortable emotions more than the positive emotions. But that's also a bias in our brain. Our brain loves, it's got this thing called a negativity bias, and it's for our survival. And it just tends to be more attached to those. So it really is an intentional, like that's what I've learned. That's what I share. Like it is an intentional practice to feel good. If you want to feel good, if you want to think positive thoughts, it is a very intentional decision on your part to feel and expand into those emotions intentionally, because your natural rhythm of the way your body works to keep you alive doesn't really care about that stuff. It cares more about the negative. So it's going to naturally like grab onto that. So we actually do, it does take a conscious practice to feel good and think better than we're thinking. And I think that's where people get tripped up and start to think that there's something wrong with them because they're just naturally not feeling the way they want to feel. But I think that's way more universal than we know. And we can get really caught up and feel lonely in it. And loneliness is such a universal experience that a lot of us are experiencing. I've learned loneliness has nothing to do with like how many friends you have, or if you're married, or if you have kids. You can feel lonely being single. You can feel lonely having lots of friends. Loneliness is an internal experience, and just learning how to be with it and learning how to move through it, and also listen to it and take the action necessary. Sometimes when I feel lonely, because that's something I struggle with a lot as an entrepreneur, like I joined a CrossFit gym and make sure I go once a day to get that 1 hour of like community and interacting with humans. Calling a friend, like going for a walk with a friend, just taking my kids out and like spending quality time with them. So I will listen to my loneliness, and usually I'll find myself wallowing in it first before I'm like, oh, okay, I'm wallowing in my loneliness. Now it's time to turn it around. What do I want to do about it? Okay.
We are coming to the end slowly. Do you have anything left? Anything else you want to share?
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate being here. I love what you guys are doing with your podcast. I love that you're moving forward on your journey and doing things that you've always wanted to do. And this is one of them. So I just love that. And I think for anyone listening, I just want to say that your life is your responsibility. And responsibility is different than blame or shame. So really coming out of blame and shame and just taking full responsibility for what it is you want, whether that's creating a business or attracting a love into your life or just creating more joy in your life, you do have the capacity and the capability to do it. And your negative, uncomfortable emotions are a part of that process. And learning how to be with those emotions, listen to them, give them what they need, and learn to nurture and love and support yourself is definitely, I think, the most worthy investment of time and energy that you'll ever give. And not only you'll benefit, but everyone around you will benefit, because when you start really providing for yourself in that way, you stop resenting the people around you that aren't doing it for you. Because we're all under this, I think, false presumption that someone else is supposed to love us, like someone else is supposed to validate us. And that's actually not true. It's actually us. And until we learn to provide that for ourselves, we may not even be able to see the love that is all around us or take in the compliments that are being so freely given, you know? So really learning to just accept and love yourself, I think, is the most worthy journey that you could decide to go on in your life.
I love this. You are your own Prince Charming.
You're your own hero.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and experiences with us. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And
Yeah. It was so great being here. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And we look forward to see you on your journey. And
Bye. Thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery and spiritual awakening. We hope the stories and insights we've shared today have inspired you to embrace your abundant soul and live your life with more presence, purpose, and passion.
remember, the path to awakening is unique for each of us, but we're all connected by our yearning for deeper meaning and authenticity. So keep an open heart and mind and trust that the universe will guide you exactly where you need to go.
This has been the Abundant Soul Podcast. See you next Sunday as we continue to explore the depths of spiritual awakening and personal growth.